Landing the Cessna 172. So what we're going to do here is demonstrate the full landing, and you can see here we've got our control yoke here, and we can turn left, right, obviously, back and forth. We can also use our trim wheel, which is very important for doing landings. We want to relieve our pressure on the control yoke so we don't constantly have to hold pressure on it there. So notice I'm not going to be using much pressure on the control yoke. It's very light movements. Contrary to popular belief, when you're flying a sim, you do not have to do real aggressive movements. They're very light, very slight movements right here. Okay, and then we're going to be also using our throttle, which is the black knob here, that adjusts how much thrust we produce. And if you look on the screen here, you've got your RPM gauge. That tells you how much thrust you're producing. We're going to drop that down to about 1600 RPM when we come in for our landing here, and then we're slowly going to remove the throttle or back it off till we are basically running at idle there on that. So watch out for that. And then obviously we're going to be using our rudder pedals. Rudder pedals are very easy to use. Basically, if you push to the right here on your right foot there, you're going to slide it. That's going to cause the rudder to turn to the right. And again, if I do the same thing on the left, it's going to turn the rudder the other way, and that causes aircraft to yaw left and right. Uh, that's going to be really important just to make sure that we're coordinated when we come in. It's also going to be very important once we get on the ground because these rudder pedals are tied to the nose gear, which allows us to steer the aircraft on the ground. All right, so let's get started here. So I'm going to go ahead. First off, we're a little to the right of the approach path here. So you can see there's the runway. We really should be further over this way. So let's correct that right off the bat here. So I'll click on this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn over here. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my throttle to about 1600. So just take a look at the RPM gauge there. You can see it right here. There's the RPM. And now we're on our glide path. And we'll get, I just shot through it a little bit there. That's all right. So we'll come back and have my hand on the throttle. And we're going to use our trim here just to slow our aircraft down, actually uh, pitch up just a bit there. I'm going to bring our throttle back so we're a little high here. All right. So I'm also looking at those four white dots to the left of the runway there. All right, our goal is to get landed about 50, flare at about 55 knots to 60 knots there. So we're a little fast here. That's all right. We want to steer the aircraft so that we're right on the center line there. Come in, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep holding it off. My throttle's all the way back. I'm going to hold it off, hold it off, hold it off, hold it off. All I'm doing is very light pressure on here, and there you can hear it land. All right, so now as we come in for a landing, I'm going to use my rudder pedals to steer the aircraft here. So if I want to steer a little more to the right, I press a little bit on the rudder pedals. Notice how little pressure I'm using there to steer the aircraft. It's not a lot of pressure, so it takes a little bit of finesse. Don't get discouraged if you can't do this right away. It's simulating a real aircraft, so it's going to be tough, just like it would be in real life. Landing an aircraft is probably one of the hardest things any pilot has to do. So, okay, we'll come in. Now I'm going to use my toe brakes. Now watch what happens here. So I'm not sliding the rudder pedals around. I'm just rotating my rudder pedals forward. See how I'm doing that? If you look on the lower right-hand side there, that's my rudder pedals, and I'm just applying the toe brakes there. So let's taxi here a little bit so you can see how this works. I'm going to give it a little bit of throttle here, and we're going to steer it. Notice that I don't have my hand on the control yoke at all right now. If we had any wind, we'd actually use the control yoke to prevent the aircraft from getting caught in a gust here, but we're not going to do that now since we have no wind here. So, all right. So I'm going to do a turn here to the left onto the taxiway. And I'm just going to slide that very gently. Basically, when in real life, we're going to taxi at a fast pace. So we're not going to go blazing down the taxiway or the runway there. Once we get down, we're going to go nice, smooth movements here and slow. About, again, a fast pace is what you want to do here. So again, I have my hand on the throttle the whole time here. If I need to stop, I can just bring my throttle back to zero and apply my toe brakes. And notice I'm not sliding the rudder pedals back and forth here. All I'm doing is just rotating the toe brakes there forward like that, as opposed to sliding my rudder pedals back and forth like this. Again, toe brakes like this. If I want to use my rudder pedals to steer the aircraft, I'll use that. So let's continue on here. Okay, give a little bit of thrust here, and we're going to taxi right on that yellow line. I basically line that up with where we're sitting in the aircraft there. That'll get that nose gear right on the center line there. So, all right, here we go. That's about what we should see in the cockpit, about right there. That nose gear should be right on it. Notice I'm doing very light movements. I'm not applying any toe brakes. I'm just sliding my rudder pedals back and forth. If I need to use the toe brakes, I can always shift my feet up on there. All right. All right, and that gives you an idea a little bit about what you're going to have to do when you're controlling the aircraft. Again, throttle here and rudder pedals are all important. Light movements, just remember light movements on the controls there.